Hello everyone, welcome to today's news charter. Let us begin with the prelims practice question of the and the governor generals, viceroys, etc. are very important. So you need to have a good idea, especially those personalities who are involved in Indian national struggle. You need to study about them very well. The first, with reference to Dadabhai Nauroji, consider the following statement. So, about Dadabhai Nauroji, three important statements are provided, and they have asked how many of the statements given above are incorrect, not the correct option. They are asking about incorrect option, so be very careful about it. The first statement, he became the first Asian to be elected as a British Member of Parliament. Yes, it is a correct option. He established his own trading company in Britain. Yeah, he did. He did establish his own trading company in Britain, and he had campaigned for Indian independence and cause of Indians in the British House of Commons. The third statement is very simple. Everyone knows the third statement is correct. The first and second statement are also correct. So, in this question, none of the given statements are incorrect. So, the option is D. So, in order to answer such questions, what I would advise you is whenever you are going through a important character, a important personality in modern history, I would advise you to take a look at that personality, draw a brief idea about that personality. You don't have to make separate notes or anything, just go through him online and try to get a brief idea so that if you are getting a question in such manner, you will be in a position to answer it. Let's start with the first topic of the day, the Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023. In 2023, the government brought out an amendment bill to amend the Forest Act, which was passed in 1980. Why this particular act is important? It is important because in GS3, environment is a major portion. So from environment, you always get around 5 to 6 questions every year. So forest is a major part of environment and ecology. So you should be knowing about it. You should be studying about it too. So first we will look at the amendment that happened, and then we will study about the recent judgment by the Supreme Court related to the Forest Amendment Act of 2023. Forest Amendment Act amended the 1980 Forest Conservation Act. In this act, they have mentioned two different types of forest. First one, they said it is the forests that are notified under the Indian Forest Act 1927. Second one, in government record, it is mentioned as forest after 1980 Act. So they are classifying forest into two type of regions. One, those forests which are mentioned under the Indian Forest Act of 1927. Second, those forests which are mentioned in the government records after 1980. So only two forests. So here the problem is they are telling that we will consider only those lands which are in record as forest. The problem is in several states they have not included the forest regions on record. There are several instances where forest lands are under conflict. There are several cases going on where the state government have not included a proper forest land under the records of forest. So what will happen to these kind of forest? If you have not mentioned those things in the act, it will become normal land. The forest lands will become normal land. So this is a major problem. Second, they have provided some exceptions, lands which come under 100 kilometers from the borders of India. So this is very important. Of course, it is important from internal security, external security perspective, especially those forests which are in the northeastern states of India, because we have a very high scope of Chinese incursions in these regions. So the government has told those regions which come under within 100 kilometers of India's borders, they are exempted from the provisions of forest. Small roadside amenities, public roads, etc., leading to villages or other habitations, those things also are exempted. So this is a important provision. Apart from that, some important provisions the central government has mentioned for the state government. It has told that state government requires the prior approval of central government before allocating any forest land to a private entity. If the state government want to allocate a land to a private entity, first it has to get the permission of the central government. Assignment to be made on terms and conditions specified by the central government. Activities allowed in forest. Certain activities are allowed: establishing checkposts, fencing, bridges, running zoos, safaris, and ecotourism. So this is a little problematic. Running of zoos, safaris, and ecotourism in a forest land, it can result in commercialization of forest entities. So these are all the major provisions. Now, recently, what happened is a case was going on in Supreme Court against the provisions of the Amendment Act. In this, the Supreme Court has clearly told that forest will continue to have a broad and all-encompassing meaning. That means forest cannot be restricted as those lands which come under the government record only. Forest should be those lands which will not have a proper definition. Lands where wild animals are present, lands where exotic trees are present, lands where the tree cover is very high, those things can be called as forest. So because of this definition, 1.97 lakh square kilometer of undeclared forest land will also be considered as forest now. So this is a very good step from the Supreme Court of India. This particular verdict is based on another Supreme Court verdict which happened in 1996. The name of the case is T.N. Godavarman Thirumalpad case. In this case, also the Supreme Court told that forest should be having a wide meaning. It should not be restricted to certain government records. So based on that, it has to continue now. So forest will cover, but not be confined to lands recorded as forest in the government records. Dictionary meaning should be adopted, not the government meaning. Field till the states and union territories prepare a consolidated record. So the Supreme Court has told that first, let the state and union territories make a record of all the forest lands that are in their states and union territories. Then you define, that's fine. But when the states and union territories do not even have a proper record, how can you come up with a definition? That is not the right way to do it. Establishment of zoos or safaris by any government or authority should be consented and approved by the top court. That is, in the amendment, it was told that zoo, safari, ecotourism, etc., can be done by the government, by the state government. But here, the Supreme Court told that you first get permission from the Supreme Court. After that, you can do. So it has put a bigger restriction on the Amendment Act 2023. Milan 2024, a very important naval exercise. Milan 2024 is the 12th edition of multilateral naval exercise. What is a multilateral naval exercise? When multiple countries come together in partnership and try to engage in some exercise to increase the interoperability or compatibility of the navy or army or any other military force, it is called as multilateral exercise. So multilateral naval exercise conducted by India, it is very important because around 58 friendly countries of India are participating in it. Out of these 58 countries, around 20 to 25 naval forces will be engaging in the exercise. Totally 58 country, but around 20 to 25 navies will also engage in exercise. Where is it happening? It is happening in Vishakhapatnam. Aim is to enhance the professional interaction between friendly navies and gain experience in multiple large force operations at sea. So basic idea you should be having for prelims. These kind of topics are very important. Today there was an article about Bose. So we need to know about Satyendranath Bose and his major invention, that is Bose-Einstein condensate. You do not have to know about the life history, but the invention which he did is very important. So at present, we usually consider four natural states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. These are four natural state of matter. Apart from that, we have one more thing, that is Bose-Einstein condensate. Four natural states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas, you already know. What is plasma? When wind particle or air particles are heated up, it will get converted into ions, because even atoms are present in air. So when it gets heated up, it will either get converted into a positive ion or negative ion, and it will have its own reaction. You know about this already. In geography, you might have studied about ionosphere. If not, go and study about it. So this is what we call as plasma. Apart from that, Bose and Einstein worked together and then came out with another matter, another state of matter, that is Bose-Einstein condensate. So what exactly is Bose-Einstein condensate? According to Bose-Einstein condensate, Bose tells that when you heat certain elements, when you cool down certain elements, when you cool it down to near zero temperature, absolute zero temperature, what will happen is, generally, all the atoms will keep exchanging energy with each other. They will shift one electron from here to there. They will have all kind of activities. But when you cool them below a particular temperature, that that atoms, those number of atoms, will stop their activities. They will become a cluster together. So when it reaches that state, it will have both wave properties and particle properties. So this is a very important point. When certain elements, not all elements, certain elements are cooled to a temperature which is absolute zero or near absolute zero, all the atoms will become a cluster. They will all combine together. They will become a cluster. And they will function as single quantum object. Quantum object means an object which doesn't have a certain fixed property. It has multiple properties. So it will have both wave property and particle property. So why is it important? It is important because it is very similar to the activities of a black hole. It will not have any friction. It will act in manners which doesn't hold the general laws of physics. So even today, research is going on to study and find out about the properties of Bose-Einstein condensate. It is still going on, but the major process through which you create a Bose-Einstein condensate is very important. At such low temperature, there are no longer thousands of separate atoms. Everything will act as a single atom. As I mentioned, all the atoms will come together. They will become a cluster. So they will act in a similar way. So this Bose-Einstein condensate will help us in studying about the properties of black hole, because we cannot go near the black hole and study it. If we can make Bose-Einstein condensate, we can study the properties in Earth itself. Main question of the day: enumerate the legislative and constitutional safeguards in India with respect to forest conservation. Direct question, very simple question. You can start from the fundamental rights. You can start write about the fundamental duties. In duties, it is mentioned that we need to save or preserve our forest and environment, and directive principles you can mention. And then you can talk about the fifth schedule, sixth schedule, etc. You can, when it comes to legislative measures, you can mention about the Forest Act, the Forest Conservation Act, the recent amendment in which the center has given some restriction on the state governments. All these things you can mention, and you can conclude or provide a way forward. Map study, very important. Recently, India-Greece relationship is on a high point. So we need to know about Greece and its geography, very important. First thing, in from the global perspective, where is Greece located? This is the location of Greece. It is located to the southeast part of Europe. It is located very close to Italy, even though it is not directly linked or there is no geographical attachment. It is located to the east of Italy. It is located to the west of Turkey. So the immediate borders of Greece, Albania, Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Turkey. These are all the four countries. Just four countries. It shares border. All the four countries are in the north. Albania, Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Turkey. What are all the oceans or water bodies that surround Greece? So Greece is just like India. Greece is also surrounded all the three sides with ocean or water bodies. To the east of Greece, we have Aegean Sea. To the south of Greece, we have Sea of Crete. And then the wider Mediterranean Sea is there. And to the west, we have Ionian Sea. Aegean, Crete, and Ionian. The countries that border are Turkey to the east or to the northeast, Bulgaria, Macedonia, and Albania. So these points are very important. Try to remember them very well. In the recent times, map-based questions are higher in number, so need to study them. One important point which you can note it down and make use in your answer, especially for mains examination, about the contribution of service sector. Service sector has been growing from 1991. After the economic reforms, it has been growing. So service sector at present contributes 53% to India's gross value addition, whereas manufacturing sector contributes only 28%. And even when it comes to employment, so we always tell that service sector do not provide a lot of employment, but in reality, if you consider the service sector as a wider whole, it will provide good amount of employment with good salary also. So 31% of employment is generated in service sector only, whereas in industries it is just 25%. Take a note of it. It will be helpful in GS3 answer writing. So that will be all for today. All the best. Study well. Let's meet tomorrow.